This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.
That's number one. You kind of reset me.
Painful, tender to the touch. May also
Same shoulder length, and the other.
Welcome back to another episode of the Real Health Podcast with Brandy and Amir. I am Dr. Amir Rashidian, a chiropractor, and Brandy Rashidian is my other half, co-host, and she's the one with the genius of all the wit and fun and jokes.
And Sean's going to have to edit that because we missed our clap at the beginning.
Oh, that's
so
okay.
I was waiting. So it was a funny look when we started.
Oh, yeah, no clap. That's all right. Yeah, we usually clap so we can sync the voice, the audio, and the video. We didn't clap today.
So if we look like a foreign film.
Yeah, if our voice doesn't match our video, then that's why. But listen, the Real Health Podcast is presented by the Frederick Podcast Network, found on listenfrederick.com. So please visit the website and listen not just to ours, but listen to all the other podcasts. There's a lot of good stuff there, especially if you live in Frederick. It's a site you should be checking on a regular basis. So anyways, hope to see you there. And the Real Health Podcast is where we take all the latest news, articles, information, whatever's in mainstream media about health and wellness and latest trends. We read the article, summarize it, talk about it, and we bring it to you so that you can figure out how it applies to your life and what it means to you and how you can use it to help yourself feel better, get stronger, live longer, and feel younger. And
Yes.
This is our second episode of 2025.
That is correct, I believe.
Very cool. And episode number 83. Is that right, Sean? 83, yes.
We're rocking.
So, yeah, that's good. We're 17 away from 100.
Yeah, so let's set some goals because I want to grow our audience a little bit this year. So will you guys help us? I'd love it if you would like, subscribe, share, so we can grow this and reach more people. I think this year is really going to be a year where we're going to see health and wellness in the news and media way more than we even have in the past few years, which has been more than probably 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think we're really going to see that, especially with the incoming administration.
Right. Every administration, their, platform was always, how do we get more drugs and surgery into the hands of more people?
Yeah.
How do we make healthcare cheaper? For the first time, in my lifetime, I feel like now they're talking about, wait a minute, how do we prevent the need for drugs and surgery? Which is why some of the people who financially benefit from drugs and surgery are kind of unhappy about that because they go, no, we want more people taking more drugs. And this administration's finally saying, actually, we want to reduce the need for that and have less people on drugs.
Well, I mean, the reality is the more medications you're on, you run into more challenges with medications interacting with each other, changing other bodily processes, increasing risk factors in other areas. So unfortunately, sometimes in order to help with something, we end up creating more of a detriment to our bodies.
Guys, if medication was healthy, we'd all be taking it without any problem. We'd just always be on everything. But there's a reason they need a prescription.
It's very true. And I was going to wait for this, but since our conversation is kind of lending itself to this anyway, I think what I was most blown away about and what I want to talk about today more is some of the predictions from some various groups regarding our healthcare industry in 2025. So we have a little bit of a political kind of geared more towards policy, and then one that's geared a little bit more towards some direct healthcare initiatives. But what kind of was mind-boggling to me was the 10 most common health issues that are being discussed, that are like front and present. And this is not just for people in healthcare. I'm talking about these are what you guys are asking about, not necessarily our audience, but people as a whole. So this is what people are Googling. This is what people are WebMDing. These are what people want to know. And I'm blown away because it's no different than what it's always been. Yep. So to me, that goes, if we're still talking about being overweight and obese, Well, I don't care how much Ozempic you have on the market, it's not doing what it's supposed to do. And I mean, we're not huge fans of those medications. We know what it does to the body. We've seen it firsthand with some of our patients. It's not great. So I go, here are the top 10: physical activity and nutrition. That's what people want to talk about. Being overweight or obese, tobacco use, substance abuse, HIV and AIDS. How is HIV and AIDS in the top 10 of conversations right now? That is mind-boggling to me. Mental health, that is not mind-boggling. I would expect to see that. Injury and violence, environmental quality, immunization, and access to healthcare. Those are the things in our communities that people want answers to. And I just think if we were doing our job in the healthcare industry, in the healthcare model that we have, we probably would not still be talking about that stuff. We'd be talking about things to not stop these disease processes, which are, sorry guys, it's what we're doing to ourselves, what the food companies are allowing us to eat and all that. That's what that's about. When are we going to get that stuff under control so that we can talk about really expanding our health and wellness truly, So.
Yeah, and fact of the matter is, are there any big companies, are there any billion-dollar companies that are focused on, I guess, improving general wellness?
Right.
Is there anybody out there?
Well, I don't even know if we have a true term for general wellness. Do you know what I mean? I think in order to work towards it, don't we have to have a common definition?
Yeah. I mean, I have a definition of wellness.
I think everyone should adopt it.
Well, it's the degree to which health and vitality are experienced in the multiple dimensions of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically, wellness is not a destination. So that was a chapter of one of my books. Wellness is not a destination. It's a direction.
Correct.
And so it's how much wellness and how much, not wellness, how much health and how much vitality you're experiencing. And that word vitality, that's big.
Yeah.
Is there a company that promotes vitality? Is there a company that is profiting on helping people, live longer? There are.
Yeah.
I read Tony Robbins' book, Life Force, and he's setting up shops all around. I saw an interview with him. Apparently, he owns 120 businesses.
Wow.
That does over $8 billion in revenue annually.
Wow.
But I know some of them are geared towards that.
Yeah, he's really big into longevity and wellness.
Stem cells and peptides, other than the GLP-1s.
Right.
So, anyways, yeah, those are the top 10 trends, and yeah, I'm surprised too when it comes to AIDS and HIV being number 5.
Yeah, if we have time, I'll jump into that a little bit more. I was actually blown away to read that the fastest growing group to come up with or to be diagnosed with HIV and AIDS was the older aging population, and that was very surprising to me. So. But again, I am not a huge believer in some of the stats and numbers that were given. So because they don't always tell us where they get their data from, I don't always believe it. So I find some of that fascinating. Let's go ahead and dive into our first article. This is the top 10 healthcare industry predictions for 2025. This was out of Forbes from Sachin Jain, I believe is his name. He said, my crystal ball gave me a vision into a year unlike any other for the U.S. healthcare industry. Over the Thanksgiving holiday in preparation for my annual healthcare industry predictions, I donned my bedazzled wizardly robes and dusted off my transluminescent crystal ball. Never before has my vision been so clear or crisp. Time will tell if these visions are accurate or just mere early Yuletide hallucinations. What I undeniably see this is a year ahead in American healthcare that will be like no other in recent memory.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah, I like him.
I think his name is pronounced Sachin.
Sachin, thank you for that fix. Top prediction, number one, wellness will be front and center. Well, that warms my heart. I don't know about you.
It should have always been front and center.
I agree. But the RFK Jr. effect will be real. People will begin wondering why we normalized overeating processed foods and consuming high volumes of neurotoxic alcohol and marijuana. Heretofore, fringe ideas about wellness and disease causation and medications will continue to go mainstream. Traditional allopathic medicine and public health will be on nonstop defense. Doctors, nurses, practitioners, and pharmacists will have to do more than ever before to continue to encourage adherence to medications about which the public will be more skeptical than ever, with the exception, of course, of Ozempic and other GLP-1s. I think he's being funny about that.
No one's skeptical about those.
Which is so weird. Anyway, the average member of the American public will increasingly see all parts of traditional healthcare as a part of a corrupt medical industrial complex until, of course, they have a genuine healthcare need. Then and only then, the corrupt medical industry complex will be heroic again for an occasional moment or two.
Okay. Wow. So
there's a lot in that.
I don't I don't get him, the author. Like, where is he being sarcastic? Where is he trying to make a point? And what really is his point? But I'm thinking this. No one's ever said the medical industrial complex is not heroic. They save lives, right? In emergency situations.
Correct. But that's not what he's talking about.
Yeah, because otherwise, what are they doing? So you can't lump it all together.
But they are.
Someone gets in a car accident. They've got internal bleeding. They need to be rushed to the hospital, and a surgeon needs to get in there and stop that internal bleeding, or they lose their life, and this surgeon does it. That's the hero. I will respect that person all day.
Yeah, but they're lumping in also the insurance company that then denied every single procedure that was done during that car accident. And now that person is home alive and they have a $500,000 medical bill that they can't pay. And so nobody is a hero in that situation. That person is hurt there and they have a huge bill that they can't pay. And so I think that's what he's saying, is that it's taking everything. It's taking, unfortunately, the physicians who were willing to change the cause of death on the death certificate to be COVID when it was not COVID. And they're talking about the insurance companies that continually deny care when it's absolutely needed. And then, so they're taking everything into that, and majority of us have lost hope in that. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't run across people who treat us well or who are in it for the right reason, but unfortunately, past administrations have allowed this big conglomerate to be created, and this monster only cares about the bottom line. Right? Doesn't mean we don't have individuals that are heroes, but unfortunately, it's so tainted now. It's hard to find the good parts of it.
Yep. Well, the military-industrial complex profits when there's war.
Mm-hmm.
So their incentive is to make sure there's always war in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Medical-industrial complex profits from
illness,
chronic illness.
Yeah.
Chronic. There isn't money in save this guy's life and have him be healthy the rest of his life. There isn't money in that.
Right.
So chronic illness is and so that's the part of the system that's broken.
Yeah. But it feels like everything. You can't pick it apart. Like, as a consumer, like how you don't have the ability or the means or sometimes the know-how to even attack back or to get what is rightfully yours. So it's a tough situation.
Again, you need to be your own doctor.
100% of the time.
Do your own research.
Number 2, misinformation will get much worse. Oh my gosh, is that even possible? Coming off the pandemic, a whole swath of American society has credentialized the medical profession. And there is no easy pathway back to a place where physicians and other healthcare professionals are fully trusted for their knowledge and, more importantly, their judgment. Logging into X, the social media site formerly known as Twitter, you get the feeling that everyone is an MD and a PhD these days, with the confidence to make claims that once required clinical expertise and data analysis. Rebuilding trust in the health institutions will require a grassroots Manhattan Project style effort. I like how this guy writes. That engages frontline staff and leaders across sectors: pharma, managed care, medical specialty societies, hospitals, and medical groups. They will have to articulate and, more importantly, abide by a set of trust-building principles and behaviors that aim to restore confidence in health sciences and healthcare professionals. Unfortunately, given all the focus on transition of presidential administrations, he sees little chance of that happening in 2025, but is optimistic about future years. So, I agree. I think the days of doctors being able to say, you do it because I told you that it's best for you, those days are over. So I think pediatricians are going to start having a harder time getting certain things through for children. If I say it, they might take us off of YouTube, so I'm going to be cautious. But there are certain things they're not going to be able to say, you have to do it because I told you so. They're going to have to start showing... they're going to have to start getting informed consent, which they should have been doing all along.
Our episode on, was it a vaccine episode that got banned? The reason was they called it misinformation. So I feel like there is a so each side is calling the other side
Misinformation.
or accusing the other side of giving misinformation.
But our side gets shut down and their side doesn't.
Right.
Which is the challenge. How about we just let the information come out and then require people to show evidence of what they're saying?
Right.
That to me is smarter because, eventually YouTube's not going to be able to keep shutting stuff down.
Right.
You know what I mean? Same thing on every platform has this issue where whoever runs it gets to control the narrative, which typically and admittedly by several platforms, they were asked by certain entities to put stuff on or not put stuff on or allow certain information to be or to shut it down, and they admitted to that. But yet we're still doing it.
Yeah.
And by we, I don't mean me.
I just saw the title of an article that said Meta is not going to be doing fact checking anymore.
So are they not going to shut things down, or are they going to?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think they're not going to do it anymore.
Well, let's see. We will see.
Yeah.
Medicare Advantage will make a roaring comeback. The last few years have been dark days for Medicare Advantage. He said a disclosure. He led Scan Health Plan, a California headquartered medical advantage plan with more than 280,000 members. The new risk model, affectionately referred to as V28, slashed revenues to plans. High star ratings, which are tied to bonus payments, have been harder and harder to achieve. The base rates have increased less than expected in an environment where there's a lot of cost inflation. Not to mention unprecedented scrutiny over utilization management and sales and marketing practices, all of which have added up to a retreat from medical advantage in some parts of the country. So a lot of this is talking about the policies and the rules surrounding what doctors and hospitals were supposed to get. And they were supposed to be, we talked about Advantage Medicare plan last year, maybe middle of last year. And so this was supposed to be better because the doctors there were certain things they weren't going to have to get approval for and whatnot, but they found they weren't actually, Medicare Advantage wasn't necessarily working as well as what they had thought. So many people pulled back from it. Obscure government deputies will matter more, obscure government, deputies will matter more than ever. So here they're just talking about with JFK expected to occupy the role of Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Not JFK.
Did I say RFK? I think I said RFK.
Okay. I thought I heard J. RFK Jr.,
RFK
yeah.
Jr., yep, is expected to occupy the role of Secretary of Health and Human Services, and Dr. Oz the role of CMS administrator. President-elect Trump has made something clear. He values star power over policy and bureaucratic expertise in the top administration healthcare jobs. This is not to say that Kennedy or Oz won't drive policy change. Both have strong, well-known perspectives on health and healthcare that will surely infiltrate U.S. healthcare policy making. It just means that they will rely on seasoned deputies to wrangle agencies that are large and complex and where unsexy minutia can drive disproportionate impact on healthcare. And with agency leaders whose natural orientation is external, those deputies will wield truly unprecedented power over the shape and divisions of government that strongly shape and define the contours of U.S. healthcare. So we're going to see some changes there. The health equity field will end. This I'm kind of excited about, I have to admit. So all of those jobs that we have created that have to do with exclusion and equity and all of that, they're saying that they need to pull back from that. So Vivek is one of the big leaders in that, and he's just saying that we need to work on government efficiency in order to and something like the equity challenges that they keep trying to put in are not creating that. And so they're going to be pulling back from, I think, some of those departments and some of those positions. Number 6, there will be more turnover at the top. So there's the year 2024 saw major leadership changes atop some of the healthcare industry's biggest companies. Bruce Broussard departed Humana and was supplanted by Jim Reckton. David Joyner replaced Karen Lynch at the helm of CVS. Look for more such changes in 2025 atop other healthcare companies, big and small. Several long tenured CEOs will likely be granted golden parachutes as the odd confluence of multiple industry headwinds are making these top jobs more challenging than ever. So we're going to be seeing some major changes because I think as policy changes, create more requirements and changes inside some of these big companies, some of the old leadership are going to have to go. I think they're kind of set in their ways. So, and then the next thing is the big transactions will return. So there's been some talk about mergers and whatnot in some of the large insurance industries, a lot of companies being healthcare companies being purchased by private equity and things like that. So they're really thinking that that some of these big mergers will be more supported by the new administration. So we may see more of that coming through. The AI revolution will accelerate. Artificial intelligence is finally ready for prime time. AI scribes are now everywhere, and where they don't presently exist, they soon will. Doctors are saving real time on administrative tasks. AI is now assisting with interpretation of diagnostic tests, providing meaningful decision support for physicians. Mainstream EMR vendors like Epic and Cerner, have major AI integration initiatives. Biopharma companies like Vertex Pharmaceuticals have path-breaking AI and data science efforts that extend into all aspects of business. So with the price of AI falling dramatically, I think we're going to see that more and more coming into and being used in all different ways in the medical community. So, and I know that's been something we've talked about in the past, and there's probably some hesitation going, ooh, should we really let AI drive? But then we go, there's also in many instances less errors when we have AI involved. I don't think it should be the end all be all. I think physician supervised, but I would have no
you have to
problem with
understand
AI.
AI still spits back out the information you give it.
Correct. That it finds.
But it's better at processing and
problem solving,
putting some reasoning behind that information. But when it comes to radiology and picking up tumors and fractures and things like that on x-rays and MRIs and CTs, I think AI does a better job than humans.
Yeah, I agree. Regulators, number 9, regulators will scrutinize private equity's role in healthcare. So this is one, while they may not mind in the new administration seeing these these mergers happening with some of the larger corporations, there is a concern with some of the smaller private equity firms purchasing up all these different healthcare, big and small businesses, where really the patient's health is not at the forefront. It's more about the bottom line. And that's been one of the big issues that we're seeing in healthcare today is we're putting money before the patient care, and that's creating many issues. So, and then digital health will continue to spin is number 10. Lots of digital health companies were valued in the days of the Teladoc and Livongo. That Teladoc and Livongo actually merged to create what the new Teladoc services are. In the years since, many companies have tried and failed to drive revenues worthy of those frothy valuations. The fundamental problem of the digital health has been and continues to be its failure to meaningfully connect to the analog healthcare system. I think the bigger issue with Teladoc services is we fail to connect to the human, right? Even more so.
What do you think about doctors getting paid by the minute, like attorneys? And each doctor would have their own per hour fee. You know, like
That's an interesting
First off,
thought.
I don't like how attorneys obviously, round up to the next hour. You talk to them for 15 minutes, they charge you for an hour.
Right.
That aside, what if they prorated everything to the minute? But like psychologists are like that. Now you look at dentists, the dental model, which is what our chiropractic model is very similar to, is like, we'll take care of your teeth. So you come in every 6 months, we'll clean it. Every 2 years, we'll x-ray, look for cavities. If you have cavities, we'll fill those cavities. If you need braces, we'll get you braces, blah, blah, blah. Kind of like what we do in our offices with chiropractic. We're like, hey, you got a spine, you need someone to take care of it. So you come in here, it's not about you being sick, it's not about you having back
Right.
pain, neck pain, whatever. No, it's about you protecting your spine, which houses your spinal cord, which is pretty important. And you come in here, we take an x-ray, we do an analysis. We're like, okay, just like the dentist find a cavity, we'll go, okay, you've got a couple of misalignments, you got abnormal curvature here. We're going to correct those, re-x-ray. Okay, now let's maintain. Every 2 years, we'll take a new x-ray. These are your exercises. You're going to do these daily, and we're going to check you on a regular basis, make sure you're staying healthy and perfect. Yep. So we're keeping them healthy. It's not like we're crisis care. Correct. We fix the problem, then we maintain and we help them. And then those who want to go to the next level when it comes to vitality, we're like, okay, so now let's increase the intensity of exercise or whatever. But so I think the chiropractic model can benefit from being like a dentist's model, which is our model. Not every chiropractic office is obviously like that. Right. A lot of them are crisis care, which is fine. Get you out of pain and then come back if you need me is what they do. And that's valid. What about the medical doctor who is charging a visit fee, right? And if they can knock out a visit in 5 minutes, that means they can do 12 of them in an hour, right? And they get that fee 12 times. And the other doctor who spends more time with a patient can only knock out a visit in 10 minutes. They get half the money.
Right.
And if someone spends 15 minutes with a patient, they only get 4 visit fees per hour, right? So they make less money. So they're actually incentivized to spend less time with you and knock out that prescription and kick you out the door, go to the pharmacist. What if it was per minute? And if a patient knows, oh, this doctor charges $500 an hour. So I'm going to be very efficient. I'm going to make sure I don't ask too many questions, but I want the best. This other doctor's $90 an hour. And so I'm going to spend 30 minutes and pay $45.
It reminds me of the old Bob Newhart skit.
He charged $1 a minute.
Yeah, he charged $1 a minute for mental health services.
Yeah.
And the lady comes in and spills all of her it's totally not PC, I'm sure.
He said we can take care of this in 5 minutes. So I'm going to charge you $5 for the first 5 minutes. If we need more time, we'll add that. And he goes, what can I help you with?
She
And
spills
she
everything.
says, I'm deathly afraid of being buried alive in a box.
And he asked, have you ever been buried alive? And she said, no. He's like, okay. So he goes through, but his big advice to her after that time, and I don't think they even got to the 5 minute, was 2 words. He goes, I have 2 words for you. Stop it. It's like my favorite thing in the world. So if I ever come up to you and you're saying something to me and I'm like, stop it,
There you go.
take it for what it is. I won't even charge you.
And he gets so frustrated with her at the end. He goes, stop it, or I'll bury you in a box.
It was awesome.
Anyways, Sachin, good job on the literary work. It was brilliant writing.
It was probably the most fun, like healthcare,
Yeah.
politically charged.
Yeah, we may not agree with all your opinions, but such is the case.
Yes.
But we like reading your articles, so hopefully you'll write more.
Yeah.
And it was Forbes magazine. Okay, good.
Yeah. Another article was 7 healthcare trends that will transform medicine in 2025. So I don't know. Let's see. Personalized healthcare revolution. It says in 2025, personalized healthcare means more than just precision medicine. It's about tapping into the power of AI and data to address every aspect of a patient's unique needs. Think tailored wellness plans and communication strategies aimed at encouraging hard to reach demographic groups to engage with healthcare providers. The personal touch will help push health provision away from reactive to preventative measures, reducing the burden of reducing the burden to society caused by rising healthcare costs while also improving patient outcome, a win-win scenario. Number 2, future-proofing healthcare. AI will continue to transform the way healthcare systems plan for and respond to large-scale challenges, ranging from future pandemics to health crises caused by war, famine, and climate change. In 2025, decision makers will have more data and tools at their fingertips than ever before, and it will be essential when it comes to understanding global trends impacting human health. This will include addressing the needs of aging population in developed countries and the growing healthcare demands and growing populations in developing parts of the world.
What exactly are they saying here? Future-proofing healthcare.
So I think that they're just saying that they're going to be using AI tools. There's going to be more coming out that's going to allow like larger scale data processing to help like specific demographics, like rural, demographics in rural communities versus the demographics in, in like cityscapes versus. So I think it's just using some of those large scale data models that they're coming out with to be able to offer more specific plans or health initiatives for those groups. Technology and mental wellness. I thought this was really interesting. It says that a new generation of technological solutions will revolutionize the delivery of mental healthcare services. This will include virtual healthcare sessions delivered remotely in VR or AR environments by human therapists. We'll also see a growing use of chatbots that can provide instantaneous 24/7 support. These technologies will help mental health care providers overcome a number of challenges, including availability of resources, the stigmas associated with seeking help for mental health problems. Is there still a stigma, or do we just keep saying there's a stigma? I don't think there's as much a stigma at like somebody reaching out and getting mental health services.
No, I regularly run into people who say, "Oh, I was talking to my therapist the other day,"
Like,
and
it's
this
so
is
common.
it's yeah.
So common. So I don't know. Wearables and BCI and implants. Implantable devices such as brain-computer interfaces, which is what BCI is, represents the next generation of wearable health tech devices. Even if you're not quite ready to start plugging chips into your cerebral cortex, you can expect to see growing discussions, excitement, and hype around the topic in 2025. From chronic pain management to epilepsy and paralysis, this technology is showing promise for solving a number of healthcare challenges that negatively impact the lives of millions of people. However, it also raises ethical questions, such as who owns the data generated by our brains. I cannot even believe that that's a conversation we're going to be having. So I think this is, I mean, we see how much this has come just the last 12 months. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this, like they said, in conversation.
I'm literally seeing videos where I know for a fact that person didn't make the video, but it's their voice and it's information that's addressed to them. So you got to
yeah.
be really, really careful how AI is really.
The AI generated videos are nuts. They could have one that looks just like you, sounds like you, and
Yeah.
it's very hard to tell whether or not.
Yeah.
Like you could look at it and struggle.
Well, I haven't seen videos.
It's called a deep fake.
There you go. Yeah,
You can just stand in the background and tell me smart things and make me sound really smart. I like this.
the deep fake.
Deep fake.
I like it.
I think we'd be a little nervous to know how often that's been used.
That's the title of the next podcast.
Deep fake.
Deep fake.
Oh, they'll never let that one go.
Like the Deep End, which is your favorite podcast.
That is my favorite podcast. Genomics, decoding the secrets of life.
Come on.
Genomics and gene editing are perhaps some of the most exciting and also ethically challenging areas of healthcare innovation. Technologies like CRISPR, which I believe was used in the vaccines, right? They used CRISPR in some of the vaccines that were created for COVID.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure. We'll have to fact check that, but they're increasingly moving from laboratory to real world clinical application, enabling the development of targeted treatments for many genetic conditions such as cystic fibrosis, Huntington's disease, and muscular dystrophy that were once thought incurable. In 2025, we'll see continuing research into its implications for cancer, cardiovascular disease, thanks to the availability of breakthrough technology to treat these life-threatening conditions at a molecular level. I don't know how I feel about that. Once you start messing with genetics, I get a little nervous in that arena.
Well, first off, you cannot say genomics is the secret of life. That's not the secret of life.
No.
The secret of life is something no one understands and no one knows. Nobody still to this day knows how, genetic material from dad and mom come together and form one cell, and then that cell becomes a human. That they try to explain it, but trust me, nobody knows how that happens.
Yeah.
They just know it happens. So that's
as much as we know, we realize there are things we probably will never.
Come on, it's not the secret of life. You try to box everything into this, then why is it that the two of us have 3 sons that are all different?
Like our first was born with red hair and blue eyes. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, and then like their behaviors, their attitudes,
vastly
the
different
things they deal with, whatever they battle with, what makes one sick doesn't make the other one sick. This one prefers this one prefers that.
Can't figure it out.
How is it that second off, that was first. Second, personality is not in your genes. And personality cannot really just be your environment because they're being raised by the same 2 parents in the same household with the other siblings. So why are their personalities different?
That's true.
So you can't tell me there's genetics for personality. And then personality and environment determine your health way more than your genes do. So you spend your time on genomics, good luck, because you're not going to come up with anything. They did the whole Human Genome Project back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
To what end?
Spent millions of dollars, and what they come up with, they said there's 100,000 expressions of 20,000 genes. That was it. And they said that there's very little difference between the chimpanzee and the human, which means 2 humans are nearly identical when it comes to genes.
Right.
If we're 99% the same as a chimpanzee, then how different am I from you?
Yeah.
Genetically.
I was like, well, there's a lot of differences.
Right, yeah. Body parts and all that.
Health data dilemma. The explosion in the volume of healthcare data, from our medical records to genomic information and data collected from wearables, is leading to rapid advances in the science of healthcare. It does not feel like it is, though. I'm just telling you. However,
Oh my gosh, everybody's got a wrist device that reads something.
I know. But I'm like, but we.
How did you sleep last night? Let me check. Oh, I slept great last. Look, I turned twice.
It's funny. People live by that stuff, though. That's But yet we're still dealing with the same 10 problems we were dealing with 20 years ago. So let's see.
And people are sleeping less and worse
Right.
in general.
I was just talking to a couple of, we had one of our patients come in last night with her son. So he's just 2 months old and he's cute as all get out. So I got to hold him and be with him and he was just so giggly. I love well-adjusted babies, let me tell you. So anyway, we were talking.
That's controversial right there, but
Well-adjusted babies?
yeah.
Well, I do love well-adjusted
You want
babies.
a secret to life? That's one of the secrets to life is
100%.
get your babies checked and adjusted so their nervous system works properly.
Gosh. Ask any of our moms who do this and the dads whose kids get adjusted, and you will be blown away at the responses that you get back from that. Like, my baby hasn't slept in 3 days. I don't know what's going on. You adjusted them and they started sleeping and now everything is fine. My baby won't poop. You adjusted him and now he's pooping just fine.
We had a failure to thrive.
Yeah.
We had the several times we had babies come in because they weren't able to gain weight.
Yeah.
And then you just balance their nervous system and their food starts to add weight to their body.
Yeah, it's amazing. So we were talking last night and I said, I wish. And we were talking about how, she's getting ready to go back to work. And there are still cultures and groups that mom, when she has a baby, she stays home for 30 days. She doesn't work. She doesn't do housework. She is cared for 30 days post delivery because her body's healing. And she's
that's not a long time.
It's not a long time, but that's a fantastic thing to be cared for. I can guarantee you there's probably maybe one or two in our entire county who've gotten to experience that. I actually know one. I know one husband who they have lots of kids and his wife stays home. She doesn't leave. They really don't allow a lot of people over and they just sit with the new baby and they just get to be, with all their other kids. And I was like, I think we did ourselves as women a disservice in the whole, when we needed to be so much like men and
equality movements.
Yeah, because I go, back in the old days, I'm talking like biblical times, women, when they were menstruating, they would go sit in a tent with other women. And then they were served by the women who were not any longer menstruating, right? And and they sat there and they were fed and they were cared for. I go, do you know what a different wife you would have if that's what I got every, that week, once
a lot
month?
of women fought to change that.
I know. And I think they should kick themselves and we should kick them because, man, to go back to just allowing sometimes to be cared for in certain seasons that our bodies go through, I think there's something to that. I think we've kind of missed the boat on that a little bit.
Equal doesn't mean same.
No, it doesn't.
Equal means equal respect.
Yeah.
It means equal love.
Yeah. Equal value.
Equal value, exactly.
Yeah, but we're vastly different.
Right.
Like you
I don't want to be treated the way you want to be treated, and vice versa.
But I think back to when we were first married, and in my personality, I was by myself for so long. I was used to taking care of myself. And so I kind of bought into some of that, and I'm like, no, I got it. I would be struggling to get my suitcases up the stairs, and you'd be like, can I just do that? And I'm like, I got it. And I had to be the one. Now I'm like, who can help me? It changes, and I'm, I want my boys
if something's
to be
easy for
chivalrous.
me and hard to do for you, then why shouldn't I do it for you?
Right, and vice versa.
I'm not allowed in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at whatever you guys do in the kitchen that I just don't do anything in the kitchen.
Yeah, and that's fine. You can do what you do. So I think there's, I just want to go through these. That was really all the benefit out of that last article. The last thing I kind of just wanted to, and we don't have to talk about each one of these in depth. I probably will only talk about the headline or the header in each one. But this really lends itself to more practical things that number one, we should probably all be focusing on at some level coming into 2025. If you haven't set your goals, I'm not a big New Year's resolution person because those tend to fall off to the wayside by week 3 in January. But if you have some great habits that you want to create in your life for 2025, which will That to me is a better goal. Like my goal is to start doing this every day or doing this once a week, because those great things that you put into your schedule or put into, your life to do on a regular basis, that will yield a positive result. So if you're not sure what your end goal needs to be, just set yourself some goals of some new things to start. Top 2025 health and wellness trends and takeaways. So it says the first thing is holistic health approaches are going to take center stage. This is fantastic because that means more and more you're going to hear people like us talking about true wellness. What does that look like from a practical standpoint? What are some things you can begin doing to change your daily habits to have the biggest impacts in your life? You've heard us say before, you don't have to change one thing 100%, change like 100 things 1%. Makes tiny changes. Increase the amount of water. If you're only drinking 16 ounces of water a day, I don't think setting a goal to drink a gallon every day starting right now is probably not feasible. So how about you increase it to 3 cups or 4 cups? Like small things make a huge difference. So that was the first thing. Holistic health takes center stage.
You know why they call us holistic doctors? Because we deal with a whole list of problems.
I like it. That's his dad joke for the day. Number 2, tech-driven personalization in health and fitness. So we were just kind of laughing a little bit about some of the wearables, but for some people, the things like I have a Samsung watch, which I love. It helps me keep track of my steps because really, we know movement is life. And it's very easy, even for me, to get caught in researching something for the podcast or doing some of my real estate stuff. And then I go, oh my gosh, I've been sitting here for 2 hours. I need to move. And so being able to use your wearables to help you track some of your healthy habits, I don't think is a bad idea. But it's not your end all be all, right? You don't depend just on your wearable to determine your health. It's really everything that you're doing. Functional fitness and longevity workouts. Functional fitness focuses on exercises that improve mobility, stability, and endurance, critical for aging well. Well, I agree with functional workouts, but I don't know why I feel like they're separating strength training from that. And I think as men and women age, but especially women, we have to be lifting weights. Like you have to, men too, but like our bone density depends on like our ability and our habits of like lifting weights and things like that. And so while I think mobility, stability, and endurance are super important, I think leaving out weight training is the biggest mistake. I've been talking to, anytime I meet a woman who's around my age, I'm like, and they start talking about different health stuff. I'm like, well, let me ask you, are you lifting? Are you in the gym lifting? Or are you at home lifting? They're like, no. Because for people my age, we didn't have gyms on every corner. It was not the norm. Yeah. For somebody my age or older to be lifting weights. And so I don't think it's a common knowledge thing. I think we need to be educating and saying, hey, this is something you really need for these reasons.
Well, think about this. If you can sit down and get up and hold a weight in your hand and do that, then your own body weight will never be an issue and you won't be stuck to a chair. You'll be able to get out of that chair.
Absolutely.
Bottom line, I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah. And I think about like your aunt right now, unfortunately she was knocked over by the dog last week and fell and dislocated her shoulder, and she has 2 fractures. And I guarantee you, and she has had a broken back. She's been a little accident prone. We love her. But she's broken her back. She's broken her arm. And she's more active at, 72 than what most like 50-year-olds are. And so even though she has this and is very impaired by this fracture and this injury, she still can get up and down and go to the bathroom by herself, and she can still feed herself. And so she needs help because she's only one-handed right now, but that matters. So we always talk about it. What you do before you hit your healthcare challenge is what is the biggest determining factor on how you come out of that healthcare challenge. You don't know if you're going to walk outside and get hit by a car or get into a car accident or get knocked over by a dog. So everything you're doing right now is going to be what is a determining factor on how quickly you heal, how fast how you're able to function through it. It's just so important. The mental aspect comes into play. Ooh, it's big time. Mental fitness and resilience training. I don't know why resilience training is so funny to me. I just think life should provide resilience training for us. I don't know why we
Bottom
need that.
line, your health is determined by how much stress you can safely handle.
That's 100%.
And that means adapting to your environment. It's the adaptation process.
Yes.
That's resilience. If you're resilient, then when the wind blows, you don't catch a cold.
Yeah. I like it. Although I think they're talking about it more from a mental standpoint.
Same thing.
But yeah.
Same thing. Two people will have emotional, mental issues. One will quit. The other will persevere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very true.
Two people, two different marriages will have the same marital issues. One couple gets a divorce.
And
the other perseveres.
Yeah.
Now, the one who perseveres, they went through the same tough time, but their marriage is better after. But you don't know that when you're going through it.
Right.
When you go through a tough time, your marriage is better after.
Yeah, for sure. Number 5 trend that we're going to see this year is corporate wellness expansion. So it looks like a lot of corporations took a 4 or 5 year hiatus from really making available programs and initiatives for their employees. Now, I don't think it's the employer's responsibility to make their employees healthy, but if you have an employer who's willing to put dollars above the bottom line and is willing to invest in your health, then man, take advantage of that. Give us a call. We're happy to come in and help with any corporate wellness initiatives. We've done that before. And I will tell you, those companies who are willing to do it, there's just a different kind of employee engagement and employee loyalty to those companies.
Yeah,
It's really great.
If you have employees, you know this concept of presenteeism. Presenteeism is the employee is there in the office at their desk, but they're not participating.
They're not productive.
They've checked out.
Yeah.
Their mind is at home.
Yeah.
That's called presenteeism. And so this kind of a corporate wellness plan gets rid of that, increases productivity and production.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And then the last two, again, AI coming to the top, personalized nutrition through AI. So I think that's going to be interesting. There's a couple of tools like Eat Love and Neutrino that analyze dietary preferences. I think it's interesting. There's other platforms like Lumen who use some biological data, which some people say is helpful, effective, some say is not. So I think we'll probably see more and more coming out. And I'm going to be curious to see if we know how great some of like our bodybuilding coaches are at customizing meal plans and creating that. And I would love to see if some of these other tools come out and are as effective as the human component when it comes to like bodybuilding and nutrition and stuff. So that will be interesting to see if they end up creating something like that. So,
yeah.
And then hormone health awareness. I think this is something that has gained a lot more attention in 2024. And it says hormone health is gaining even more attention in 2025 as people learn about its critical role in metabolism, energy, food, and sleep. There's an increasing interest in optimizing hormonal balance through nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle changes.
Can I say something about this?
Please.
Because I think that's only half of it. So hormone health affects metabolism, energy, mood, and sleep. But I promise you, your energy, mood, and sleep also affect your hormone health.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. It's very
So
cyclic, right?
Literally, you change your mood, your energy goes up. Your energy goes up, testosterone goes up. Fact.
Yeah.
And then you'll sleep better.
Yeah.
But you start sleeping better, your cortisol levels go down.
Yep.
If your cortisol levels go down, you sleep better.
Yep.
So it's a sick cycle, and I think this is only half the story. The other half is the reverse.
Yeah, I agree. It's so funny. One of my favorite podcasters, he talks about, we'll go a little bit faith-based right now. He talks about praying for the joy of the Lord, and that affects his biology the most. So there you go for my Christian listeners out there. Start praying for that instead of healing.
That's fact. That's fact. You can be in the gym 2 days in a row. One day you'll be stronger than another.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just your mood, it's your mental state. It's what you chose to focus on and what you choose to believe about what you're focusing on.
Ponder that for a few minutes. That's pretty deep. So I think we have some pretty cool stuff that's going to be coming through in 2025.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
As my favorite podcaster says, the future looks bright.
Well, here's the most debatable or the most debated health topics coming up. And I think medical ethics topics, these are going to bring up very big disputes over the next year. So let's be looking for this. These are going to be things, for instance, correct nutrition, maternity, abortions, euthanasia, the human genome, cloning. All of that stuff still going to be on the table for discussion this year. And so I think we're going to see some pretty hot topics coming up.
I'm surprised they're not talking about chip implantation into the brain.
Oh, it's going to be there.
I think that's already here.
I would say.
How about robots doing haircuts and stuff?
There's all sorts of stuff. So we'll be bringing that stuff to you all year long. Please make sure you put in the comments if there's some topics that are popping up that you really want us to dive into, do some research on, and bring back to you.
Our patients have been giving us articles to talk about, which is pretty cool. You guys can send us articles as well.
Yeah, and a big shout out to Bonnie today. She stopped in and saw me. We chatted for a little bit, and she goes, "What's your topic?" I said, "We're getting ready to record our podcast." She goes, "Ooh, what's the topic?"
She gave us an article that she wants us to talk about. So we'll pull that up.
So I love that. So hello to Bonnie. Thanks for stopping in and saying hi.
All right, everybody. Thanks. Again, please check out listenfrederick.com.
Yep.
And listen to some of the other podcasts and listen to our old episodes. I think you'll get a lot out of it. If you missed a few, they're there, except for one that got banned from. Well, that one should still be there.
It's
not the
everywhere
video,
else, but not YouTube.
Yeah. All right, guys. See you next time.
Bye.
This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.